Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be making a sweet treat for my family. I have been promising this since Thanksgiving of last year. So I think it's about time, since Thanksgiving is just about rolling around again, and they're going to be asking for it. This is not something I make very often. It is a family recipe and I only make it a couple of times a year. So yeah, let's get into this. I am making old-fashioned fudge. So this recipe only calls for a few ingredients, and I have my sugar, my unsweetened cocoa, my salt, my vanilla, my evaporated milk, or cream as I call it, and my unsalted butter. So in my heavy bottom pot, I set my candy thermometer just off the bottom of the pot. It's not touching the bottom. You don't need one, but it is really helpful. So in goes my sifted sugar into the pot. As you will notice, my candy thermometer is gone. I find doing this way helps me stir it better. So I set the depth, take it off, and then I know it's not touching the bottom when I put it back on. So in goes my unsweetened cocoa powder, which I also sifted just to get out any lumps, and there were a lot in the cocoa. And I'm just going to mix it together, just stirring it, making sure I am not spreading the ingredients all over the place. So stir it slowly. Then in goes a whole can of the evaporated milk. So once I get the whole can of evaporated milk in, I'm going to stir this slowly. I want to make sure I'm getting all the cocoa and all the sugar wet and everything is well incorporated before I even turn on any heat. At this point, there is no heat on this pot, none whatsoever. I am going to make sure everything is stirred together before I even start to put my heat on and get this to the temp it needs to be to turn into fudge. And here is where not having that thermometer on the side of the pot is really helpful, because I would be hitting it and everything else, knocking it around, and I don't want to do that. So now that I've got everything well incorporated, everything is wet, I'm going to insert my candy thermometer, and I actually made a little point here on where I need it to come up to temp to, and that is about 240 degrees or soft bowl stage. So now I've put my candy thermometer in the side, making sure it's at the depth, not touching the bottom, and I am going to be stirring. You don't want to walk away from this. You want to stay and stir it until it gets to this point. This point, you want to set your actual heat to where it doesn't boil over. You want to turn it down to where it's not going to boil over. And you don't want to walk away from it at this point, and you don't want to stir it. Don't stir it. But as you will see, I didn't turn mine down low enough, and I didn't catch it in time because I walked 2 steps away to my fridge and I came back and it was boiling over. And you don't want to do that because the cleanup is a mess. But anyway, here it is. It is just about ready. I know you can't really see the thermometer, but it is just about ready. Once it gets to that temp, you want to add in your butter and your vanilla and stir it. Stir it like your life depended on it, because if it gets solid in the pot, yeah, it's kind of hard to get out. But you want it to go semi-glossy. See how it's not as glossy as it was before, and it's quite firm. I actually took it a little bit further than I should have. And I poured it into an 8x8. You can do a plate or whatever you want to do, and I did butter it. It is buttered. And as you can see, it's not as smooth as I would like it. It's quite firm, so I know it's going to harden up. And yeah, this is the fudge. Now, the clip that I will show you after this of the what I cut up and put in the plate is a second batch, and you see I got that exactly perfectly great. So this is what it looks like once it hardens. You want to cut it before it gets hard. So as soon as you put it in the whatever plate you're using, cut it. Now this is the second batch I made. You see how smooth it is? That was the best batch I've done in a long while. Like I said, I don't do this very often. I don't make it very often, but I usually do about 2 batches. I don't double the batch because that has never worked out for me. I would typically do 2 batches, one at a time. So this is my grandmother's old-fashioned fudge recipe. Now you can add nuts in it like walnuts or pecans. We don't like that, so I never do.